الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الذين جاهدوا فينا لنهدينهم سبلنا سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. When I look back at college years at NYU, I remember that there was a summer in which I had to take some courses and I was staying on campus. And in summer, because normal students are usually not there, so you get students from all over. And so this one person came from Texas, some university in Texas, and he happened to be a American football player, somehow related to Dallas Cowboys. And so those couple of months was ajib because this person had a very rigorous schedule. Like, even though he was there to take some classes, he was very cautious and very aware of what his daily schedule looked like. And so the workout in the morning and at night, and especially what he intook, like in terms of food. You know, mashallah, we were all college students, so we would eat whatever was given to us. But he was very careful about what he was consuming, and you know, so he told us all about, you know, how his life was, his coach, etc., etc. And so it was ajib after several years when I look back at it, that this person was so worried about the physical fitness and reaching the peak of his physical abilities that he was willing to sacrifice whatever he could. He showed utmost care to it. Daily exercises, whatever he was consuming and eating, and making sure that, you know, he had a physical coach that, you know, he was in touch with and who was kind of keeping an eye on all of that. You know, a spiritual journey is not that different. You know, it requires us to have a regimen, have a schedule of ma'amulat that we are taking care of day in and day out. There are certain things that you have to do parhez from, and there are things that you have to make sure you're not consuming. And then, you know, just like that person, he had a physical coach. You know, we have spiritual coaches, which we call our murshid, our teachers, our shaykh. And it doesn't matter that you're not in the Khanqah. Right? Just like that person was not in Dallas, in midst of, you know, where everything was. He was, you know, 1,000 miles away. He was in New York, and he had every opportunity to not do his exercises, to eat whatever he wanted, right? But he showed that care. And just like that, a salik and a murid, somebody who seeks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who wants to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they really have to come to terms with this care that they have to give to their own suluk. Right? It's not something that we can just take willy-nilly. You have to spend some time, you have to be thoughtful about it, you have to be intentional about it. And again, you have to make sure that your ma'amulat are being done. You have to make sure that things that you're supposed to stay away from, that you're taking care of that. So this kind of lihaz has to be given. This kind of riayat has to be given. Kind of care has to be given to our own suluk. Otherwise, you know, I'm sure that person, if he stopped doing that, within a couple of months, he would have become just as normal as us. And similarly, if a person lets go of their ma'amulat and they're not keeping an eye on their own progress and things like that, then slowly and steadily the decline starts to begin. Sometimes we don't even know that it's happening. Sometimes we think that we are progressing, and on the other hand, we are actually declining because the care, the muhasibah, the lihaz of these things is just not there. So some of the things that we have to, one of the things is that keeping an eye on our amal, making sure that amal salihah are constantly happening and they are in accordance to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because that has a big amal dakhal in the acceptance of those amal. Okay? Similarly, those amal that are called amal sayyi'ah, making sure that we are not doing it. वो कहते हैं ना कि इलाज से बेहतर परहेज है, that prevention is better than cure. And so that's true when it comes to the suluk as well. We have to stay away from sins outward and inward. You cannot do badparezi and you cannot do all of that. And if a person suffers from diabetes and mashallah he's eating double layer chocolate cakes twice a day, then there's no complaining that why is this diabetes coming back and why isn't cure, why isn't he getting cured of it? And so you have to stay away from it, and then the medicine will take effect, and then inshallah ta'ala slowly and steadily the sickness, the ailment will go away. And second thing, when it comes to our amal, especially for the salik, because we have to deal with our inner demons, we cannot become people who look at our own amal and let them feed our nafs. Okay, so we have to be careful about that, because as I said in some other majlis, that a lot of times nafs is looking for anything. Nafs is looking for anything that will give it that I am better than others, and I am, that I amness will want acknowledgement, recognition. And so amal salihah is actually part of that. And so some of our mashayikh had this habit of just belittling what they were doing, because they kept their eye on the azmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for example, Hazrat Mujaddid Sahib rahmatullah ta'ala writes, Huwa subhanahu wa ta'ala wara'ul wara thumma wara'ul wara thumma wara'ul wara. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His azmat is beyond this, it's beyond this, it's beyond this. Right? So in that term, when that azmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in front of us, we will never feel complacent and comfortable with what we're doing. Right? We'll always feel that unease that I have not done enough. Because how can you do enough for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Right? How can a person do enough? Because Allah ta'ala's, azmat ke parde, as they call them, is just, beyond anything that we can possibly do. Right? So when we become comfortable, we are becoming comfortable with our own selves. Right? And that's not a good place to be in, because progress usually stops if we just become, alhamdulillah, this is what I'm doing and I'm okay with it. How do you progress when you're okay with what you're doing? Right? And so mashayikh, they have this saying, karte raho darte raho, that you keep on doing and you are still afraid of rejection. Right? Afraid of rejection because you don't know if they're accepted or not. So in terms of our own amal, we have to be very vigilant of this. We have to give care that A, we are doing it according to the sunnah. B, we are, making sure that we are not, we don't keep an eye on, mashallah, what we are doing. Oh, look at me, I am putting in this much effort. Look at me, the mujahada I'm doing. Look at me, the variety of all the stuff I'm doing. Bas kare aur usko bhool jaye. You do it and then you just, do shukr of Allah, Ya Allah, I did not deserve this, and you move on. Don't keep an eye on yourself from that perspective. Huh? Look at this. Look at the variety, look at all of this that I have done. Because it's a recipe for disaster. Because as I said, eventually this will lead to like self-love, self-comfort. Oh, mashallah, alhamdulillah, ya mashallah, kya baat hai. And we don't want to become those people who feel that way. And so some shaykh, as I said, they used to belittle what they were doing. Kya kar liya, kuch bhi nahi kiya. The famous saying that, the mashayikh, they used to pray all night long, and then they used to get up in the morning, and then they used to say, Ma abadnaka haqqa ibadatik. I mean, what heart says that? مَا عَبَدْنَاكَ حَقَّ عِبَادَتِكَ, that we haven't worshipped you as you deserve to be worshipped. This is somebody who is up in qiyam all night long. And then, this was free from riyah. This was really the call of their hearts. Allah, I have not been able to worship you as you deserve. Honestly, if we ask ourselves, if we had one night like that we were up in qiyam and just we were doing, that morning, mashallah, we'll have extra breakfast, and then, we will send messages here and there, and then, when we go in front of others, we'll pretend to be very tired. Oh, kya hua? Why are you so tired? Bas ji, sari raat ibadat hoti rahi. I was, just in a state of worship all night long. Huh? Our own mashayikh, when they would fast, they would put some oil on their lips, like all the nafli fast, so people wouldn't know that they were fasting. Or when they would, spend their night in like ibadah and dhikr, they would wake up and then they would put oil on their faces so the faces would look fresh. Yeah, that's a deed. Right? So that was so people couldn't tell that they have been doing this all night long, because that was such a personal thing for them. Right? So that's alhamdulillah. And also keeping an eye on our ahwal too, that our states, there's some consistency in that, and that again, just like our amal, our ahwal do not become a source of our being complacent. Because some people will say, oh, I keep on sinning, but mashallah, my ahwal are still okay. Then those ahwal are an imtihan from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're an imtihan from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if it's not leading us away from a life of sin, it's an imtihan. And then we do actually shak on our own ahwal and halat as well. And in general, we should do shak on them anyways. Because, Allah Kareem, who are we to have ahwal and kayfiyat, and who are we to, even pretend that we have something like this? Allah, we have just your fazl and karam. That's it. That's all we have. And our hope is in you, Ya Allah Kareem. And our redemption is from you, Ya Allah Kareem. And nothing other than your fazl, your karam, your nusra is going to save us. And so if you feel, mashallah, certainly, Ya Allah Kareem, alhamdulillah, do not make this an imtihan for me, Allah, because I'm not, imtihan ke qabil nahi. And third is also being careful in giving lihaz to the awqat that Allah Ta'ala has given us. Every day, as we have established, is a gift from Allah, and it should be taken as a gift from Allah. Do not keep on dwelling in your yesterday. Okay? If yesterday had guna and sins in it, today is tawbah. If yesterday Allah Ta'ala gave you the opportunity to do some amali salihah, today is just shukr. That's it. But we don't dwell in it in terms of, oh, I worked so hard yesterday, so I'm going to not do muraqabah for the next 5 days. No, it doesn't work that way. Today is today, and we have to make today count. And, as our mashayikh especially used to say, Jo dam ghafir, so dam kafir. That every breath taken in ghafla is as if it has been taken in disbelief. So keeping an eye on our awqat, keeping care of them, and making sure that we are being productive in them. That being productive could mean that you are, gaining ilm. That's okay. With presence of Allah Ta'ala, gaining ilm. It could mean da'wat ilallah. That's okay, alhamdulillah. But with the presence of Allah, with huduri, it could mean that you're doing some dhikr, you're sending salawat, reading Quran. It could be any of this. It could be helping your parents. But with that presence, with the niyyah of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it could mean that you're taking care of patients, that again you're helping people, doing service to others. All of these things is being productive in our time. And so we have to make sure that our time is not getting wasted, because our time wasted is our life wasted. And it does not come back. The doors of tawbah are open, but we don't know when our last breath is. Okay? And if we have learned anything from COVID, it could be today, it could be tomorrow. And so we have to be very vigilant and careful with the awqat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. So we make dua to Allah Ta'ala that Allah Ta'ala makes it easy for us. Make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah Ta'ala allows us to become people who give ra'ayat and lihaz and care to our own halat and kayfiyat, and in our amal, and may Allah Ta'ala preserve our awqat as well. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillah.